Well, I mean, personally to me, it feels like my life mission and purpose is to help other people find it. And I feel my job to me is to tell a story. Is not just to tell my story, but to tell everybody's story. It's to tell everybody where the stars came from, or why the earth turns, and to kind of tie everything together into one long story of itself. And I can do that by helping people find their way, or by telling them their stories, but in the end that is my job, and that's what every incarnation has been about, has been telling people the story of everything. The concept of origins is very complicated because it doesn't exactly follow a logical rule. It doesn't follow a scientific rule as far as I'm personally aware. The idea of an origin is that it is where this specific aspect of the one being became its own aspect. For example, the stars originally, they were just a part of the big one that we all are connected to, and then they became their own aspect of it, just like people and the earth and everything around us is one specific aspect of everything that we're all connected to. So the concept of an origin, I suppose, is whenever you decide that it is separate from just the sky. As soon as people decided that stars were not connected to the night sky, but were their own entity within the night sky, that's where they came from. It doesn't matter how long they were there before that. An origin only matters when it's yours or when you decide it happened, because otherwise you can't really say when it happened or didn't happen until you knew it happened. So I guess the concept of an origin is really, in essence, it happened because you decided it happened, or because you believed it happened. And until you believe it, it didn't happen. Well, I mean, I suppose that that's also another matter is everybody has a sort of spiritual aspect of which we all come from. Like for me, it's the lingam of Shiva, or the white buffalo woman is the aspect that Mara derives from. And in the case of that, the answer is sort of that a soul is born whenever that aspect decides it is. So that doesn't mean, not all souls were exactly created at the same time. However, we have all existed for the same period of time, and that doesn't make any sense. But the thing is, no soul is necessarily much older than the other. We just all have different experiences, more or less, and that depends on how many times someone has been born or reborn. For example, you could have a soul where they've incarnated 50 times, and then one where they've incarnated 30 times, and then one may seem older or wiser because they were born multiple times, while the other one may not. But that doesn't mean any souls are older or younger than each other. That the birth date doesn't matter because the aspects are all the same age. So whenever the souls came to Earth doesn't really have an effect on it. And the only difference that souls can have is more or less experience. I think that souls don't adhere to any sort of logic, so yeah, the souls just go wherever they feel like going and do whatever they feel like doing at any given point in time. I mean, they don't really care about it. They don't care if it doesn't make sense that they couldn't exist in this or that area. They just go and do what they like, even if a human eye can't really see them. But yeah, they just go wherever. Souls don't care about human logic and rules. I mean, that's the point of being human, is you come here to forget everything and to find it anew, because it's boring just knowing everything all the time. It's like, oh wow, I know everything and all the answers in the universe. It's kind of boring. I want to ask some questions. I want to learn some stuff. And so we go to Earth, we forget everything, and we just kind of go our own path in trying to learn things or understand things or even not understand things. And that's sort of the fun of living, is not having all the answers and is not knowing everything. Yes. Honestly, I get extremely bored a lot of the time, especially in school. Not necessarily because I know all the answers because of some spiritual thing, but also because it has a lot to do with intelligence as well. For example, if you are someone who is school smart, like me, and you just pick up on the concepts quickly, or you already can find the answers if you don't already know them very quickly, and you just understand everything and you have your work done before everyone else, school becomes very boring. And that's also the same with general existence, is when you're being like me, who is supposed to have all the answers, who is supposed to be able to answer any question or lead you to the person who can. It gets kind of boring because then you don't have any questions. So sometimes I personally just like to say that I don't know, just so somebody else can give me their opinion or their answer, because it's so boring when you always know what to do. You're like, I know what to do in this situation, I know what to do in that situation, and it takes the fun out of living. So that's probably also why I ask my parents a lot of questions all the time about things that I might actually know the answer to. It's just boring not to. A lot of people are artists, actually. So those people are kind of similar in the way that they have this deep understanding of the world, even if they aren't aware of it, and it gets just boring. And a lot of them are bored in school, and they may get bad grades or something, but it's really just because they know in their heads everything they need to know, and it's pointless information. So they become artists and singers and writers and dancers because it gives them something to do, something to throw their passion into that they don't know, because it takes practice and learning. It's why I do all sorts of art. It's why I sing. It's why I want to dance. It's why I draw and write and play instruments. It's how I stimulate myself in my brain. Well, I mean, that again, I'm gonna go back to my point. Souls don't care about logic or what makes sense or what doesn't. Two incarnations of the same soul can probably exist within the same year. Like, for example, my dad, Kensen, he's a really good example. One of his previous incarnations died when he was 3 years old, and they were alive at the same point in time. It's because the soul doesn't really care. You know, you could have 30 different versions of the same soul living within about 50 years of each other. You know, you could have one that was born as the other died, or they could even be best friends. And that's the thing, is that the souls can be several or tons of people at once and just experience different parts of it. Like, there's definitely somebody out there, even if they're like just being born now, who is also another aspect of Shiva, and who is technically also my soul in a different person. They're probably on this earth right now, alive and walking around, or just living, and you know, that's just how it is. A ton of incarnations can exist at the same time, in order as well to just see what it would be like to meet yourself. That's another thing that is part of the game, is what if you met yourself? What would you do? You know, it's like the concept of a clone, but they don't look like you at all, but they are you. So the concept that everybody is a mirror is essentially true, because everybody you meet is going to reflect something back at you, and you can choose to take that and learn from it, or to deal with it and get rid of it. And I think that's also why we meet a lot of people who are cruel to us or mean to us, or who dislike us or who bully us, because their job is to show us those parts of ourselves that we know we have. We know that we have that same cruel and nasty attitude in our bodies and our minds, but we just refuse to acknowledge them, and we keep the judgmental thoughts to ourselves or to personal gossip. And even then, that can have huge repercussions, and they can backfire and just go completely wrong. And the point of those people is for you to look at that and to deal with it and to work through it. Like, it's okay to have mean thoughts and judgmental thoughts sometimes. Everybody's had them at some point. Everybody's thought something nasty or cruel about a person who may not actually deserve that and who hasn't done anything wrong. But all you can really do is learn from that. And I mean, I can tell you a good example of, I knew somebody and they did something that I thought it was quite mean. And I told it to someone I knew, someone I trusted, because I was so frustrated and I was so angry. But then that person told somebody else, and that person told somebody else, and that person told somebody else until this whole thing had spread, when I was just trying and get my emotions off of my chest because I didn't know who else to talk to. And then the person I was talking about came to me and said, you know, are you spreading rumors about me? And I didn't know this had happened. And I said, no, of course not. What's going on? And they told me that everybody was talking about this thing that was their personal business. And I said, no, I had never done that. I was just trying to vent my feelings to somebody. I hadn't intended this to happen. You know, it caused a lot of problems for this person. So then I had to go and talk to all those people and tell them that this was seriously affecting this person and they needed to stop immediately, and I had to like try and shut this down, this rumor, because it was getting completely out of control and I really didn't mean for it to happen, but it was that frustration. And sometimes you've got to be, that also teaches us that we have to be really careful about that mirror effect, because if those people are then mirroring our anger at us and then they spread the anger around, we're not dealing with the problem. We're just turning everybody into a mirror as well, and then everybody's showing you this anger you've had. So when you're that mad, you have to find somebody who's not going to reflect it back at you, but who's going to show you how to calm down and get rid of it. And that's why I don't talk to people I don't know very closely about any problems, because I tend to talk to my parents or to, well, yeah, basically only my parents or very close family friends. Because otherwise, the mirror isn't going to help you, it's just going to show you something, and then the light's going to bounce everywhere and everything's going to go wrong. So, in essence, the world is a mirror, and you have to be careful which ones you look into. Everybody's like that. Humans, we want to be praised, we want to be good, we want to be seen as good. Even people who we all think are bad or wrong or corrupt, they want to be praised by other people. They want to have the power to be respected. And that's kind of what we're all searching for, and everybody looks for it in a different way. You know, politicians, they do it by trying to gain the approval of the people one way or the other, or they do it by being corrupt and just getting money from really, really rich people who also have respect for the amount of money they have. And I think as well to do with that is that there's a difference between not wanting to look at the negative parts of yourself and just not wanting to look at the wrong mirror again. Like, if you came to somebody who manipulated you, who was mean to you, who was cruel to you, who played with your emotions and who just didn't care about you at all, avoid that person, because whatever they have to teach you, it's hurting you right now, and you shouldn't stay around it because it's hurting you. However, if you meet somebody who, for example, is maybe just a little mean or gives you harsh criticism or really takes something you're proud of and just puts it down and points out everything that's wrong, even if it may hurt at that moment, you have to try and see that there's something behind that for you to learn. Even the meanest criticism can have something good or useful in it that you can take out and use it to improve on yourself or on your work or on whatever they were talking about. And I think that again, that's the difference. If I just don't want to, if you take that criticizing person and throw them in the same person, and throw them in with the manipulative person and say they're the same, that's not wanting to look at the bad parts of yourself and trying to avoid any flaws you have. And then, but however, avoiding an emotionally abusive or cruel person is just taking care of yourself and avoiding looking at the wrong person or the wrong lesson to teach you. And then there's a big difference that I think a lot of people forget sometimes. Well, personally, something I really love to teach people is just acceptance, period. Is everybody in this tradition, in this group of people, knows love. We all are striving towards love. That's the big thing in this community, is love yourselves and love each other, and just generally learn to accept love and become love and go back into love. However, I think what a lot of people also forget to teach is acceptance. Is not just, you can't just love somebody and be like, oh, I mean, you do something I don't agree with at all, but I love you anyway. The thing is, sometimes you have to learn to accept that person as well. Because if somebody, say somebody in my close family is changing themselves or acting in a way that I don't agree with, just loving them isn't enough. I have to also understand that this is what they're doing now, and even if I don't want to be part of it, I have to accept them like that. I have to say, okay, I'm going to just accept you and love you, and I'm going to say whatever you're doing, if you don't want my help, I'm going to let you do it. I'm not going to force you into anything. And that's also a huge concept with something like homophobia, or, being against gay people, or being against, people of color, all that sort of thing. It also has something to do with acceptance. You can't say, oh, I don't agree with your lifestyle, but I'll love you anyway. You can't say that. That's not really supporting that person. That's not actual love. That's just tolerating them. And if you really do care about this person, you have to accept them, even if you don't understand it, because it's not something that that person can necessarily control. You have to just say, okay, I don't get it, but I'll try to get it, and I'll try to understand, and I'll ask you questions, because that's all you can do if you really want to be a good person and a loving person, is try to understand. And that's something I strive to do every day, is when I read about something and I don't know what it means, I don't know what these people are talking about, I will look into it. I'll ask people, be like, hey, what do you know about this? You kind of understand it better than I do. Because it's the best thing you can do if you want to be supportive to people. And then for people who want to go beyond information, there's a lot of people who don't want to just know in their head what spirituality is like. They want to know in their heart. For me, I think that's also a very, very important thing to want to know, because you can know everything in your head. You can have all the facts memorized. You can be a human calculator. But if you don't feel anything in your heart, you're no better than a robot. You're no better than an inanimate object that doesn't do anything, or a tree. The tree knows everything. The tree doesn't forget anything, but the tree also doesn't do anything. And that's the idea, is that with people, when you want to go beyond knowing and go into accepting and understanding, I think the best thing to do is to not really talk, not ask many questions, but just, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but say the wrong thing. Say the answer that you know is wrong, because you have more of a chance of getting corrected then. Because if you say everything that you think, you say, oh, I think with this issue that this is the case, and then someone comes and explains to you, you're not asking them, because it's a different kind of open. When you're asking a question, you've got the openness in your head, because you want to know in your head. But when you say something wrong, if you say, I'm going to go a really simple example, 2 + 2 is 6, and someone explains to you why not, you don't just understand the answer, you understand the process into getting the answer. Because people will always give you more evidence and more processes if you ask the wrong thing or say the wrong answer, which sounds weird and doesn't make any sense, but it's one way to get everything of an answer. Or if you're just really clever, which, not many of us can do this, it's a skill, is ask exactly the right questions to get to the process. And then the simplest way that everybody does is meditation. You ask a question, but not to anybody but yourself. You don't ask anybody who's around you this question that you have before you've asked you. You sit down and you take a deep breath, and you close your eyes, and you ask any question that's on your mind, and you see, what is the answer that comes to me? What do I feel about the answer? Where can I lead the answer? And that's why meditation is so important, because it's the only time in your life that you're talking to yourself. And that it is fine to be unhappy. It is perfectly okay to be upset and sad, or depressed and miserable, or just generally not having a good time. That is fine, and nobody should tell you that you can't be sad. You gotta get off your feet and make yourself happy, because sometimes it's not what people need. Sometimes somebody needs to sit there and just be miserable. But in the end, once you're done with that misery, you have to get yourself up to a point where you can find a happiness. You don't have to go, okay, I was sad and now I'm happy and everything's okay. You can also build yourself up again, because nobody can just switch from emotions like that. Nobody can truly switch from emotions that quickly, not without something going wrong in the head or the body. You feel wrong when you do that. So the answer is a lot of people are searching for fake happiness because they don't know how to find real happiness. And spirituality is not the solution for everybody either. This is just one way. For example, for me, spiritual work makes me very happy and I feel really fulfilled doing this work and answering these questions, and I love to answer questions. It's something I've loved doing my whole life, and they can confirm that. But not everybody wants to do spirituality, and that's not wrong either. You're not wrong for not wanting to do spirituality. The only thing you could be wrong for is telling other people that they're crazy. But some people are fulfilled being artists. Some people are fulfilled being, I don't know, inventors, designers, engineers. Some people are fulfilled making videos and posting them to YouTube and making money off of that. Whatever somebody finds that fulfills them and actually truly makes them love their life and everything they're doing, that is the right fulfillment. The way your purpose in life is honestly just whatever brings you genuine joy. And if following your spiritual path brings you true happiness, then go for it. If, I don't know, shooting guns or being a policeman or a secret agent or who knows what for a living makes you really happy, then do it. Each path is different for each person, and whatever fulfills them is different for each person. So there's no way of saying how can you find your life purpose other than do what makes you happy at that point in your life, and if it doesn't make you happy anymore, find something that does, until you find that one thing that has made you happy until your death. And if that's not one concrete thing, then if different things that made you happy your whole life, then isn't what really makes you happy just trying everything, you know? Everything that you do consistently over a long, long time has got to be what makes you really happy, like drawing or painting or raising a family. So again, to sum it up shortly, the only way to know what the right path is the path where you don't ever want to look back. Honestly, there are a couple things, but the one thing that really shocks me is just judgment. You know, how I meet people, even kids my age, who look at another classmate or a friend and go, wow, look at this horrible thing they do, or look at them, they're so awful. You know, I knew some people who were like, oh my god, this girl cakes her face with makeup and dresses in crop tops and skinny jeans. You know, what a horrible person, look how gross she is. She's got 16 boyfriends. And I don't understand the maliciousness, you know. I try to understand, and some people frustrate me. Some people make me mad too. Some people I just don't like. But this malicious intent behind it, I never understood it. I mean, I get being mad because someone's nasty to you. I mean, obviously, no one likes being treated badly. But when you just hate everything somebody does, and you know, if somebody does something that person does something that's not even necessarily bad, like just post a cute photo, and then you know, you go, oh, ew, look at that, and you're like, and then you know, you think, well, when anybody else does it, it's fine, and then you kind of go, well, it's because it's this person that I don't like whatever they're doing. I never understood that. I mean, maybe it's just part of being a teenager, is judging people or something, but just seeing people hate on other people who have no effect on their lives, and that also goes, again, to the big issue of, like, you know, LGBT people or gay people, or you know, people of color and all of that that's going on in the society right now is why do you hate people who don't affect your life? You know, a lot of people are so full of hatred and judgment that they're actually trying to take away the rights of a group of people who have done nothing wrong to them, who have not hurt them, and I just don't get it. I don't understand how you can just judge because you're so desperate to do something. It's a sign of boredom, honestly. When a soul gets that bored with existing, they go out and they're cruel because it's entertaining to them, which is really sick in my opinion. But because those people don't want to bother to, you know, find a hobby other than taking a group of people who've done nothing wrong and trying to ruin their lives. And I think that that's something that hugely shocks me, is that how could you just be so full of hatred? I never understood that. And the second thing, and pretty much one of the last things that really makes me sick to my stomach and I don't understand it, is when people believe that your life is an accident. Like, I'm not going to share any names again because I don't want to keep names, but I did hear about this where somebody was told that they're existing on accident. They shouldn't be here. And that person ended their own life because of this, because they truly believed that. They didn't want to get in the way of what existence should be because they believed they were a mistake, a glitch, if you will. And I just never understood how anyone could believe that, because even if you were an accidental baby, you're still here for a reason. You were still on this earth for a reason. And I think that that's got to be something that a lot of people need to get through their heads, is there are no mistakes in making something. There are no mistakes in being born. When you're here, you as a human can make mistakes. You know, you can drop the pan and burn your hand or ruin the cake. You know, you can do that. That's a human mistake. But you existing is never a mistake. Everybody is here to do something and has a reason to do it. And it shocks me that anyone would think otherwise, because if they were an accident, why are they still here? And why has nothing gone horribly wrong yet? Well, a lot of people who kill themselves are people who are, again, they've gone into their sadness and their misery or their depression. A lot of people who kill themselves have depression, and they will go so deep into this heavy, weighing darkness, but they won't go completely into it. They won't go to the very heart of this darkness. They won't completely let go. They'll have this tiny sliver where they're just barely holding on. And that's kind of like when you're in the sea and there's a big, big storm and you have no raft and no boat and you're just swimming for your life, and there is a boulder that you can climb on, and there's a boat next to the boulder. And you climb onto the rock and you stay there until the boat gets destroyed by the water and you're trapped there. So I'm not saying that it's easy to get out of those situations. When you've fallen that deep into despair, it's hard to get out. It's hard to think that there's anything to live for, any hope to have. And that's why a lot of people kill themselves, because they're sitting there on this metaphorical rock alone and there's no help in sight. You know, it's like there's a helicopter, they think they're safe, but then it flies by and doesn't even see them, and they're just trapped here and alone, and they figure, well, what's the point of starving for 2 weeks or dying of dehydration and slow if I can just get it over with now? And I think a lot of times it's just because of that, is that emptiness, is the soul doesn't find a reason to experience anything, to search for anything, because they feel like there is nothing to search for. And I think that's the reason why a lot of people kill themselves, or because they believe they don't deserve to be alive, they don't deserve to have the good things or anything that they do, because people have told them that. Again, going back to this person who was told they were a mistake in existence, is that when you believe you aren't worth anything, truly believe you are worth absolutely nothing, you see no point in trying to make yourself something. Get it over with now. The thing that happens to the soul when they die then is, well, it happens to pretty much every soul that dies, is they go back into the oneness, into the cycle, until they're reborn again as something new and something different, or just, they stay there for a while maybe. But the thing is, when you kill yourself, something different happens as well, is that, that's not something that is it's hard to explain, but when a soul leaves the human form after it dies, especially after something that miserable, the soul will go into the oneness and it won't reincarnate for a while, because that was such a huge thing, that was such a huge bump in everything, is that it will have to stay within the oneness for a while, just to get back into the love, into the understanding, and then the next incarnation, usually that person will either be born as a very cruel and unkind person, so the opposite of the person who killed themselves, is somebody who would cause somebody to kill themselves. So either they are incarnated as that, to experience that part of it, or they are incarnated as somebody who has good things in their life, who has luck and who is happy, just to understand that you can search for love again as well. Because when you believe you have nothing left to search for, it's very hard to then clean yourself of that idea and to then go into something new. And I honestly, when I see this thing of the souls, going away and all of that, it's no different from any other heavy experience, though. Every single soul, after something so harsh and severe and just draining, has to have a completely different experience. Otherwise, it's just, there's a huge unbalance. You've got to have the yin and the yang, that's why, for example, with somebody, a person of color who was killed for being a person of color, they may be reincarnated as a racist to feel the other side of it. It's a balance of yin and yang. The most aggressive of both categories usually were the opposite in a previous life. Again, it's just that concept of balancing each other out. So, honestly, truthfully, to put it again, just to sum it up, when a soul leaves a person who has killed themselves, nothing really changes. The soul will still exist and the soul will be reborn, but it will leave a lasting impression on the other souls around it. The biggest impression really stays with the other people, because they don't get to leave. They don't get to try again. They're still in this body. They still have to feel the pain of losing that soul. And I don't think that killing yourself is okay, obviously. I'm not trying to say that, oh, it's fine because you just get reborn anyway. I'm saying matter-of-factly that the most painful impact is upon the souls you are around, and the most painful impact is upon realizing the pain that brings, even just to the person who dies, is that when they are born again, they may have to live through that, and they may have to understand when someone around you that you love dies, it's like an empty shell. It's like a hole in your heart, and you don't want it to be there. You just wish that that this person could come back, or that you could forget about it. You could forget that they existed because it hurts so badly, and it's like a habit. Every day you've seen this person, you've talked to this person, you've laughed and loved and been with this person, and they're gone. And that is the heaviest impact that it has. But again, when a soul dies, it doesn't matter how they died, because they will be reborn, and they will experience the opposite. They will experience the other side, and life will go on, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have an effect on anybody. It doesn't mean that you don't feel a hurt or a pain because of it. Just because the same process happens doesn't mean that your emotions follow the same process. Yeah, I mean, it's almost exactly the same thing, as yin and yang and karma are very interconnected in my world and the people around me. Is yin and yang, you have to experience the opposites. And in karma, whatever you do, it will cycle back to you either more extremely or exactly the same, but never less. And with yin and yang, you have to experience both extremes, never less of the other extreme. So say you're a fantastic and really kind human being, you will meet somebody or know somebody who is cruel and the complete opposite of you. Or you will be that person later in life or in another life. That's yin and yang. And then karma will come around that if you're that bad person, it will cycle back and bad things will happen to you, or something will happen to you that just ruins you. And then if you're a good person, it will cycle back that good things will happen to you, or at least good people will happen to you. And that's a very interconnected concept in the sense of whatever extreme you choose, you will have to deal with that other extreme or the same extreme, but worse. Again, souls don't make any real sense, and neither does karma nor the yin and yang concept. However, if you think about it with your head, none of it's going to make sense. And that was what also I talked about in the earlier question. Don't think with your head. Your head is there for math and, like, I don't know, the grocery list. But when you're trying to understand this concept, you understand it in your whole body. You understand it in your whole being, which makes it difficult to explain, but easy to understand when you hear it. So, your soul doesn't learn to be anything. Your soul already is everything. Your soul already has the capability of being incredibly cruel, incredibly kind, incredibly stupid, incredibly smart, extremely this and that. It's just whatever life it chooses to be in that moment that causes them the karma to come. Because if the soul says, okay, I want to be horrible in this life, I want to be the worst person, everyone's going to hate me. Karma's going to say, okay, are you ready to deal with the repercussions? Because it's like actions have consequences. That thing that everybody teaches you when you're a kid is that everything you do is going to have a direct result. So if you do good things, obviously your life will be nice and people will be pleasant and you will have people who love you and who are willing to support you through anything. You will get loyalty. If you are cruel, you will gain fear. You will gain people who follow you out of fear or greed or power lust, which is also something that means if a better option is presented, you will be quickly betrayed. You know, you don't form the same close connections. You don't form this loyalty. People will not be loyal to you if you are cruel unless you are not cruel to them, because people are selfish like that. And then the karma will come along and somebody probably will betray you. You will probably lose your fortune or, I don't know, die. Get assassinated, who knows? But, you know, they say bad things happen to good people, but bad things also happen to bad people. We just expect it, because karma, in that sense, is ingrained into our heads, even if we don't think about it like that. I mean, I suppose what you could say is that no being is inherently, like, evil or good. However, there are beings who try to force you to acknowledge your darkness by hurting you with it. They say, look at you, look at a horrible person you are because you have this darkness, and it's not fun and nobody likes those beings and everybody wants them to leave you alone and to stop. But that's how those beings will show you what to do with the darkness, is by forcing you to be controlled by it, or to just show you it. It's like the concept of the devil. The devil isn't actually some dude with red skin and horns who whispers in your ear and tells you to do bad things. You can't blame him for that. All the devil really does is show you your power. What you do with that power is only your fault. And that's you cannot blame him for the action you chose to take. And that's the same with the darker or the lighter beings. The darker beings will show you the darkness and the bad things, and if you choose to let yourself be controlled versus choosing to try and understand and accept and make it light, that is your choice. And ultimately you have to either do something about it and make yourself better, get help to make yourself better, or deal with that choice because you made it, even if you weren't really aware of it, obviously. And lighter beings, they take the softer path. They show you your power in nice ways, in pleasant ways, in ways that don't scare you. Through nice experiences or traveling somewhere or deep meditative sessions, the lighter beings will show you, or even in dreams, they'll show you, look how nice this can be. And that does make it easier to accept, but sometimes you just need fear. I mean, I'll give you an example. For me, that is wasps. They are my darker beings, are wasps and bees, and by extent hornets, is that these creatures, these horrible little stinging bugs, they are there to teach me something. They are here to show me there's a power I have to gain from them, and I just have to learn to accept it, to deal with it. But I'm also absolutely terrified of bees and wasps. So whenever they often come close to me, I usually want to run away. And thanks to him, and we've been really working on getting rid of my fear. So I've been getting better. I can already stay in the area when I see a bee, and I can stay sitting at a table when there's a bee flying around. But you have to, when something dark like that comes to you, when something that you're so afraid of comes to you like that, you have to try and learn to deal with it. You have to stay there, because if you run away, it's going to chase you. The Divine Mother is really just the aspect, or that's why she's called the Mother, the parental force that sort of guides us as people. When you look at, for example, I'm going to use Mara as an example. If you look at how she channels the Divine Mother, it's like she's a mom to everybody. She's a mom to all of the people in the spiritual community. She's a mother to everybody who doesn't know how to deal with her problems. And that's something that Mara, it's a concept that Mara has to deal with, is that she is like a mother to all, and she wants to take away the problems of her children. And she has to learn that through the other aspects of the Divine Mother, that her children must learn to face their problems on their own, and the best you can do is help them through it. And then, for example, if you say the way I'm channeling the Divine Mother is that I am also sort of the motherly friend to all of my friends, but more in the sense that I give them a guidance and a way to go. And a concept I have to understand is that I can't always give a guidance to people. Sometimes I just have to let them be and let them do whatever they're going to do. And that's kind of the thing. Everybody has the aspect of the Divine Mother. Even if you aren't particularly a very motherly person or a very parental person, you still have the aspect that you have a way of guiding people or being a parent in one way or the other. And in a way you guide people. So the Divine Mother really is just this being, this overlying being that we all are. I mean, we all are everything, but she also is a very huge aspect of each of us, is that she makes up the part of you that provides a guidance, or that provides one type of guidance. The Divine Mother, the holy, and just the Mother, she is the one who teaches you where to go in one part of your life, and every one of us has that. I think the best way to say that would be, this is love, that is love, he is love, she is love, you two are love, that camera is love, every light on this ceiling is love, the trees outside are love, every bee, wasp, and hornet that you wish would go away is love, the power outlets are love, the moon, the stars, the sun, and everything we don't know exists is love, because the concept of love is not just the emotion of all the chemicals in your brain going, I want to protect this person, I want this person near me, I want these people to stay with me, or I want this person to kiss me, I'm in love with this person. That's human love, obviously, but beyond that, the idea of love is also just existing. Humans cannot function without love. We cannot function without some sort of love for something, even if it's not a person. You cannot function without this existence, without this purpose to exist. So really, love is the drive to be. Love is existing and wanting to exist and continuing to exist. Love is wanting to be